So Jigaboo Jay-Z was performing last night at his 30th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt and decided to stop and address Twitter activists and throw shots at Colin Kaepernick. You know, the same Colin Kaepernick that just paid for Nolan Wells' family to get an independent autopsy on their son.
Digging deep with narratives is embarrassing. They run out of the characters, had to bring back up again. Buddy took a check, I ain't even...
That other people who have the billions of dollars necessary to buy a team, what does he have? Influence. And what is influence for them? Silence. I want you to shut up and play, and I want the rest of...
Are from back in 2014 where Jess Staley was telling Epstein that they do not fear black people protesting and revolting because they pretty much have their token black guy.
Just when it seemed like Jay-Z couldn't spark any more criticism, another moment had people talking in a big way. This time, the focus was on his comments about Colin Kaepernick, and plenty of fans felt they crossed the line. Even more, many people argued that some of what was said didn't match the full story, which only made the reaction even stronger. Now the criticism is everywhere, and one of the biggest voices speaking up is DL Hughley. When the entire Kaepernick and NFL debate first started, DL shared an opinion that many people didn't want to hear. He argued that Jay-Z had become a powerful figure whose business decisions often align more with major corporate interests than with the expectations of many everyday supporters. At the time, that take divided people, but now some are pointing back to those comments and saying they make more sense than ever. What has really gotten people fired up is that critics believe this wasn't only about Kaepernick. They feel the message reached much further than that. Many regular people working everyday jobs took offense after hearing comments they believe labeled them as hypocrites for questioning billionaire success and raising concerns about business partnerships, including the one with Target. Because of that, the backlash has only grown louder, with fans continuing to debate whether Jay-Z is becoming more disconnected from the people who helped build his legacy. The whole situation quickly turned into a major controversy, and there was a lot happening all at once. We'll get into the full reaction in just a moment, but first, it's important to look at the comments that started the debate. During the opening night of his Yankee Stadium residency last weekend, Jay-Z took the stage in front of a huge crowd and at one point shifted away from the music to respond to some of the criticism surrounding him. Then, in a moment that caught many people by surprise, he brought up Colin Kaepernick. During the freestyle, Jay-Z made a remark about Kaepernick that immediately grabbed everyone's attention. Referring to him, he said, "Buddy took a check, I ain't even mad at him. But along with that check, you have to sign a non-disparagement."
Narratives is embarrassing. They run out of the characters, had to bring back up Cap again. Buddy took a check, I ain't even mad at him. But along with that check, I sign a non-disparagement. I'm the one they can't control.
Those words spread across social media almost instantly, with fans and commentators offering very different interpretations of what he meant. Many listeners understood the comments as suggesting that Kaepernick accepted a financial settlement from the NFL and agreed to a non-disparagement clause as part of that process. Others pushed back, questioning that interpretation and debating whether the statement accurately reflected the situation. Before long, the conversation exploded online, with supporters and critics on both sides arguing over what was said, what it implied, and whether the comments were fair. Here's where the situation became even more controversial. Soon after those comments spread, multiple reports pushed back on the idea that Colin Kaepernick had agreed to any non-disparagement clause as part of his settlement with the NFL. According to sources familiar with the agreement, no such restriction existed. That quickly shifted the conversation, with many people questioning why the claim was made in the first place.
At Amazon, or you boycott. You posting on Instagram, that's Meta, boy, stop it. Y'all know Google owns YouTube. You picking and choosing the politicking as you.
I find it quite interesting that someone who is a billionaire would feel the need to throw shots at the average consumer, the person living paycheck to paycheck, and comparing a corporate partnership with Target to everyday people ordering something off of Amazon. And then he proceeds to punch down on Colin Kaepernick. You know, the same Colin Kaepernick that just paid for Nolan Wells' family.
People also pointed to Kaepernick's own public statements over the years as evidence that he continued speaking openly about his experiences with the league. In November 2020, Kaepernick posted 1,363 days of being denied employment, still putting in work. That message remained online for everyone to see, leading many observers to argue that he had never stopped sharing his views. As those examples resurfaced, the debate only became louder, with fans comparing the public record to what was said on stage. For many people watching the story unfold, the biggest surprise wasn't just the comment itself, it was the timing. Kaepernick hadn't publicly gone after Jay-Z in years, so plenty of fans wondered why his name suddenly came up again during such a high-profile performance. That question quickly became one of the biggest talking points across social media, with people trying to figure out what sparked the unexpected reference. Around the same time, Kaepernick was already making headlines for a different reason. He had been recognized for helping support an independent review and assisting with funeral expenses for Nolan Wells, an 18-year-old from Mississippi whose case had drawn widespread public attention over the July 4th weekend. Because of that, many online commentators felt the renewed focus on the old NFL controversy was especially unexpected, and the discussion around both stories continued to grow rapidly. Nolan Wells' family confirmed that Colin Kaepernick was helping pay for an independent review because they wanted additional answers beyond the official investigation. That news drew a lot of attention, and many people praised him for stepping in to support the family during a very difficult time. As those headlines spread, social media filled with messages recognizing his involvement and the assistance he provided. At the same time, some critics questioned why other high-profile figures, including Jay-Z, had not spoken publicly about the situation. Those reactions came from online commentators rather than any confirmed expectation that public figures should respond. Still, the comparisons quickly gained traction, with some people arguing that Jay-Z is more likely to speak on certain social issues when they connect with larger business or public projects. That opinion sparked another round of heated debate. However, the internet wasn't ready to let those comments pass without a response. Almost immediately, social media filled with reactions, and many people challenged the comparison Jay-Z made during his freestyle. The discussion spread quickly, with supporters and critics debating whether his argument really held up under closer scrutiny.
To do something about what they saw as injustice, they could do it. They're with those people all the time. They give them money, they keep them employed, they get them elected. They don't need Jay-Z to have a conversation about social justice, but that's never been the conversation. What they want is silence. They want your quiet. They want you to be distracted. Anybody can own an NFL team. If you have the money, anybody could buy an NFL team. Why him? It's a lot of billionaires. What they want, what does he have that other people who have the billions of dollars necessary to buy a team, what does he have?
Many of those critics argue that comparing the everyday choices of regular shoppers to the business decisions of a billionaire wasn't an equal comparison. In their view, most people are simply trying to stretch their budgets and make practical purchases, while someone with enormous influence has far more freedom when deciding which companies to work with. Because of that, they felt the comparison missed an important distinction. To them, the remarks shifted attention away from the original criticism instead of directly addressing it, which is why so many people describe the comments as a distraction rather than a real answer. Many critics felt Jay-Z's message created a double standard. They argued that his comments seemed to expect everyday people to make perfect choices with every purchase, while viewing his own high-profile business partnerships through a completely different lens. For people juggling bills, rent, and rising costs, that comparison didn't sit well. In their view, someone with enormous financial success has far more flexibility than the average person trying to make ends meet. And that's why the comments sparked such a strong reaction. Others took the conversation even further, saying that once someone reaches the level of influence and wealth that Jay-Z has, every major partnership naturally receives extra attention. Whether people agree with that or not, many believe those decisions carry more weight because they involve global brands and reach millions of consumers. That became a major point of debate as discussions continued online. Some commentators also suggested there was a bigger picture behind the Target partnership. They argued that collaborations between major corporations and well-known celebrities can influence public conversations during periods of controversy. This idea isn't new, and it's one of the reasons D.L. Hughley has spoken critically in the past. He has argued that some influential business figures can end up helping large corporations shape public opinion, intentionally or not. Supporters of that view say these partnerships can redirect attention away from larger debates, while others strongly disagree. Either way, the discussion has remained active, with people continuing to question where business, influence, and public expectations should meet. D.L. Hughley's main argument has stayed consistent throughout this debate. He has repeatedly said that, in his opinion, Jay-Z's biggest business moves often benefit large corporations more than the communities many people expected him to represent. That viewpoint has sparked plenty of disagreement, but it's also why DL's earlier comments are being shared again as this latest controversy continues to unfold. According to DL's criticism, Jay-Z understands that his choices can have a major influence on public conversations, yet he believes business interests come first. That's DL's perspective, and many people online have echoed it, while others strongly disagree. The result has been another wave of debate over whether celebrities and business leaders should be held to different standards because of their influence and reach.
Kaepernick lost his career due to taking a stance on behalf of Black people, Black lives, and the untimely of Black people. Meanwhile, Jigaboo Jay did an NFL partnership right after Kaepernick, a Target partnership during an organized boycott. And while it looks like Jay-Z was scanning social media for punchlines, I'm sure he saw someone somewhere write about the Montgomery bus boycott.
At the center of the discussion is a broader question about wealth, responsibility, and public expectations. Critics argue that once someone reaches billionaire status, every partnership and every public statement is examined much more closely because those decisions can affect millions of people. Supporters, on the other hand, say successful business leaders should be free to make commercial decisions without every move becoming a public controversy. As those opposing views continue to clash, the conversation has grown far beyond one performance, turning into a much bigger debate about influence, accountability, and what people expect from some of the world's most recognizable public figures. According to critics, one of the biggest questions isn't just about a single performance or one business partnership. It's about how influence, celebrity, and major corporations can shape public conversations. Some commentators argue that well-known entertainers have the power to affect how millions of people view important issues, while others believe that's expecting far too much from public figures. Either way, the debate has become much bigger than one headline. Many online discussions have centered on whether celebrity endorsements and corporate partnerships can shift public attention away from larger community concerns. Supporters of that idea say these collaborations sometimes encourage people to focus more on entertainment and consumer culture than on broader social debates. Others reject that argument entirely, saying it unfairly places too much responsibility on artists and business leaders. The disagreement has only grown as more people weigh in from both sides. What stands out most is that this conversation continues to divide opinions. Some believe influential celebrities should use their platforms differently, while others feel they shouldn't be expected to represent every public cause or movement. Those opposing viewpoints have kept the story alive, with fresh reactions appearing across social media every day. The discussion doesn't stop there either. Another topic that has recently resurfaced involves comments from media personality Van Lathan, who spoke about past tensions surrounding Colin Kaepernick and Roc Nation. His remarks have added another layer to the ongoing debate, leaving many people eager to hear what was said and how it fits into the bigger picture.
That didn't require everyone to withdraw from every single segregated institution before criticizing buses. The point was to concentrate pressure on a specific target. But hey, what do I know? I'm just merely an online activist running out of characters. But I'd rather that than be seated with these characters.
Van Lathan, who previously worked as a senior producer at TMZ, recently shared a story on an episode of the Higher Learning podcast that quickly caught people's attention. During the discussion, he described what he said happened behind the scenes after Jay-Z's partnership with the NFL became public, and his account immediately sparked fresh debate online. According to Van Lathan, Harvey Levin told him he had spoken with someone connected to Roc Nation. Van said the information being presented suggested that Colin Kaepernick was no longer interested in returning to professional football, had not fully committed to training, and that the focus should be placed on his decisions rather than on the league. These are Van Lathan's claims about what he says was shared at the time, and they have been widely discussed by fans and commentators. Van went on to say that he encouraged Harvey Levin not to publish the story because in his view, it appeared to be an attempt to shape public opinion about Kaepernick. He explained that he believed the reporting should be handled more carefully. According to Van, Harvey agreed to take another look at the situation, and he said the version of the story that was ultimately published by TMZ was different from what had originally been discussed. His account has since become another major talking point in the ongoing conversation surrounding that period of NFL history. According to critics, the bigger issue wasn't just one comment, it was the overall pattern they believed they were seeing. They argued that a series of public statements and business decisions created the impression that Colin Kaepernick's reputation was being challenged, while support for the NFL partnership was being emphasized. That interpretation has remained a major point of debate among fans and commentators alike. People who hold that view often point to several moments that received heavy public attention. They mention Jay-Z's partnership with the NFL, his well-known comment that we're past kneeling, and later discussions about whether Kaepernick had been consulted before the deal was announced. Those events have continued to be debated for years, with different sides offering very different perspectives on what really happened and what those decisions meant. Now, with Jay-Z's more recent remarks bringing Kaepernick back into the spotlight, the conversation has flared up once again. Supporters and critics remain sharply divided, with many questioning whether reopening an old controversy helps anyone. Instead of settling the debate, the latest comments have only added another chapter to an already long-running public discussion that shows no signs of fading anytime soon. But that's exactly why so many people say this story isn't really about one freestyle or one concert anymore. In their view, it's about credibility. When a public figure makes a strong claim about someone else, people naturally start comparing those words with the public record. If they don't line up, questions are going to follow, especially when millions of people are paying attention. Another reason this has gained so much attention is because Jay-Z and Colin Kaepernick were once seen as being connected through the same larger conversation about change and opportunity. Because of that history, many fans expected respect between the two, even if they ended up seeing things differently. Instead, hearing Kaepernick's name brought back old debates that many believed had already been put to rest.
Influence. And what is influence for them? Silence. I want you to shut up and play, and I want the rest of the country to not be distracted, to keep doing what we do. We read a report earlier where it talked about the Super Bowl halftime was down significantly, and they believed in part because black people were not participating. That's what I need. You know why these owners are so good at this? Because they've been doing it forever, for decades. These are mostly 80 and 90-year-old white men who've learned how to deal with black people for a long.
Meanwhile, critics argued that this isn't the first time Jay-Z's business decisions have sparked questions about whether commercial success and public messaging are always moving in the same direction. Supporters see those partnerships as smart business, while others believe they deserve closer scrutiny because of the influence they carry. That's why every new interview, performance, or public comment ends up being examined from every possible angle. The interesting part is what happened next, because several well-known voices didn't stay quiet. Instead, they stepped in with their own reactions, adding new details and very different perspectives that changed the direction of the conversation entirely. One of the biggest reasons this debate is continued is that it goes beyond two well-known names. For a lot of people, it raises a larger question about what fans should expect from celebrities who have enormous influence. Should they be judged mainly by their business success, or should their public actions carry the same weight as their public statements? That's where opinions really begin to split. Some people believe it's completely fair to separate business from activism, arguing that every major entrepreneur has to make difficult decisions to grow their brand. Others strongly disagree, saying that once someone publicly speaks about important social issues, their future partnerships and comments naturally receive much closer attention. Those different expectations explain why the reactions have been so divided from the very beginning. At the same time, supporters of Kaepernick argue that his actions over the years have remained consistent with the message he originally shared. Whether people agree with him or not, they point out that he has continued to speak publicly about the issues he believes in and has supported community efforts that reflect those values. Critics of Jay-Z say that's why his recent remarks surprised so many people, especially since they reopened a discussion that had been relatively quiet for quite some time. Then another clip began making the rounds online, and this one shifted the conversation once again. Instead of focusing on the performance itself, people started revisiting older interviews and public comments, looking for clues about how this complicated relationship reached this point in the first place. As more people looked back at the timeline, they noticed that this disagreement didn't appear overnight. It was built over several years, with interviews, public appearances, and major business announcements all becoming part of the bigger picture. That's why every new comment now gets compared with something that happened before, and fans on both sides keep drawing very different conclusions. Another point that keeps coming up is how quickly public perception can change. A single statement at a concert might have faded away after a day or two, but because it referenced a long-running controversy, people immediately started revisiting old headlines and asking whether those past events looked different in hindsight. For many observers, context became just as important as the latest quote itself.
For sure that Roc Nation was seeding negative stories about Colin Kaepernick during the time that he was really in traction with Jay-Z. For sure. This is after the Roc Nation NFL deal has been...
Others argue that this situation also highlights how powerful public platforms can be. When someone with a massive audience speaks on stage, every word is analyzed, clipped, and shared across countless videos and posts within minutes. Supporters may hear one message while critics hear something completely different. That's why the same comments can create two completely opposite reactions at the same time. Even with all the back and forth, one question still hasn't gone away. Was this simply an off-the-cuff moment during a live performance, or was there a bigger reason for bringing Kaepernick's name back into the spotlight after so much time had passed? That question leads directly into the next piece of the story. Some commentators believe the timing is one of the most important parts of this entire story. Rather than focusing only on what was said, they keep asking why those comments surfaced at that particular moment. In situations like this, timing can shape how people interpret a message just as much as the words themselves, and that's exactly why the debate has continued from so many different angles. Another factor is how quickly clips from live performances spread online. A single line can be separated from the rest of the show, reposted thousands of times, and reach people who never watched the full performance. That often leads to very different interpretations, with some viewers judging the comments based on short clips, while others insist that the broader context matters. Both perspectives have fueled ongoing discussions about what Jay-Z intended and how his audience received the message. Meanwhile, others say this moment reflects a larger pattern that has followed many high-profile celebrities over the years. Every major business partnership, public appearance, or unexpected comment becomes part of a much bigger narrative, especially when past controversies are already in the background. Fair or not, that's often the reality for people whose careers have been under the spotlight for decades. What happened after those remarks is where the story takes another unexpected turn, because the public response didn't just come from fans. Other familiar voices began sharing their own opinions, and some of those reactions added an entirely new layer to the conversation. As more reactions started coming in, it became clear that this wasn't just another celebrity disagreement. Journalists, podcast hosts, former athletes, and longtime fans all began weighing in, but they didn't all see the situation the same way. Some believed Jay-Z deserved the criticism, while others argued that his comments were being interpreted too broadly. That split in opinion made every new interview and social media post part of the bigger discussion.
On the other end of the phone, I know who Harvey's Roc Nation contact is, right? I just got this information on the phone, and all of these things about Colin Kaepernick is what I just got told, right? And Harvey comes over to me and he says all of this stuff, and he's like, yeah, did you know that he actually doesn't really want to play?
Another topic people couldn't stop talking about was accountability. Critics argued that influential public figures should be especially careful when making claims about someone else's actions, particularly if those claims can shape public opinion. Supporters, however, countered that live performances often include emotional, unscripted moments that shouldn't always be treated like formal statements. Those competing viewpoints kept the debate focused on more than just one line from the show. There was also renewed interest in the history between Jay-Z, the NFL, and Kaepernick. Fans revisited old interviews, press conferences, and public appearances to compare what had been said over the years. Some believe those earlier moments supported Jay-Z's position, while others felt they raised even more questions about how the relationship had changed over time. Everyone seemed to have a different interpretation of the same timeline. Then, another detail began getting attention, and this one had less to do with music and more to do with public perception. Once people started connecting that piece of the story, the discussion took another unexpected direction. After everything that's been discussed, many critics believe Jay-Z doesn't have the strongest position to criticize Colin Kaepernick. Their argument is that over the years, Jay-Z has faced plenty of public scrutiny and controversy surrounding some of his own decisions in business relationships. Because of that, they feel it's difficult for him to take such a strong stance against someone else without inviting the same level of examination. At the end of the day, this debate comes down to trust, accountability, and how people view influence. Some believe Jay-Z's comments were completely unfair, while others think they were simply his personal opinion. One thing is certain, the discussion has raised a lot of questions about celebrity influence, business partnerships, and the expectations people place on public figures. As the saying goes, pride comes before the fall, and many people feel that message applies whenever confidence turns into overconfidence. Now it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think about Jay-Z's comments regarding Colin Kaepernick? Why do you think he chose to bring up the topic now? And do you agree or disagree with D.L. Hughley's criticism of Jay-Z's role in corporate partnerships? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others. And I'll see you in the next one.